Hi, so what you're looking at here is our character Ames, and he meets his tragic end in the movie, and we decided we wanted to manipulate the level of his demise pretty heavily. So we did a lot of testing. We tested makeup effects, we tested various visual effects, and what you're looking at are sort of the progressive examples that we used to judge how we wanted the final effect to look. We wanted Ames to suffer. It made sense for his character to suffer in the movie. Clyde wants him to suffer, but we didn't want it to turn into a horror movie either. We didn't want it to be, ludicrous or outside the tone of the movie. So basically, what you're watching is our explorations of, what level to take these toxic chemicals that have been introduced into Ames's body, and how far we want to go. So we played around. We had, about 15 shots of Ames in the original cut, and we brought it down, I think, to 12 or 13 shots. And we wanted to have this creeping blood beneath his shirt. These tracking markers are on his face, which are later replaced in the final shot with what we decided was the final effect. And we think it looks pretty good. This is a sequence where we had a lack of snow. We had good weather while we were shooting deep in the winter, and we had a matching problem. So what we decided to do was to add snow via various means. We used snow candles, which are a practical effect, which is literally like a Roman candle that you light, and you put a fan behind it and it blows these little fuzzy white things that actually look like snow on film. And we combined that with some visual effects enhancements of these shots that you're looking at, and what you get is this kind of feeling of drifting snow, which we sort of liked. It had this kind of like noir feeling to it. We wanted the snow to blow across the screen and kind of give this weird ethereal vibe to these violent scenes. So aside from just the general need to match what we had done elsewhere in the sequence that comes directly before this, we also we like the notion of someone is about to get his comeuppance. Poor Darby's going to get his comeuppance in this beautiful snowy afternoon setting. This trick gun was always a big deal in the script, and we wanted it to look like nothing you'd ever seen before. Clyde, this is one of the first clues that Clyde has rigged something really special for Darby. And so we played around a lot with like, what type of gun, how do the needles come out, what is the mechanism, does it make sense, this is kind of a big moment to sell in the movie, honestly. We played around a lot with these puncture wounds on the hand and how far to take them, what to make them look like, should they be makeup effects or visual effects, and we ultimately decided that they were better off as visual effects. I didn't like the way, and Gary Gray didn't like the way the makeup effect looked. So what you're watching are various progressions of our experiments. These yellow marks are the tracking markers that help the visual effects crew identify where the needles are going to go, and you can see that those needles went in the same axis as those tracking markers were placed, and it looks pretty good. The final effect, it really came across. Needless to say, this is the end of the movie where Clyde meets his, just desserts, where he dies, is a pretty big deal. So we spent a lot of time thinking about what we wanted this to look like, the finished shot. This is a real prison, this is Holmesburg Prison, and we obviously couldn't blow that up. So what we did was we shot this plate with Jamie Foxx, and we got the exact, camera move that we wanted. This is a kind of a very interesting crane shot that we did. Those red marks are tracking markers that help the visual effects crew keep an eye on the angles that we're interested in putting our effects into. And then what we did is we went to Santa Clarita and we shot these elements back here in LA of various levels of explosion. And we were playing with how extreme we wanted this to be. And Daryl Pritchett, who runs our special effects department and was just an awesomely talented guy, basically dialed the level up and down for Gary and Alan and I. We could see it, matted together and composited in various ways. and decide which one of these we liked, what level of explosion we liked for the end of the film. Practical element shoot, and we married it into the plate shot that you saw that Jamie was walking in, and what you end up with is this, we think, pretty cool final shot where it really looks like the prison is actually, coming unglued, and Clyde is, dying the appropriate death. This previs that you're about to see is a really, really interesting lesson in filmmaking, I think, because what happened was we had another ending for the film, and this was Dunnigan and Nick riding in the car. Dunnigan's driving, Nick is his passenger, and they're on their way to chase Clyde down at this alternate location, this safe house location. And as you'll see, a really interesting idea was presented by one of the writers for this sequence, which is that Dunnigan goes to call for help to get some backup once he realizes where they're actually going. And when he makes that telephone call, that sort of fateful telephone call, a really, really horrible thing happens, and it blows up in his hand and kills him. The car crashes, and Jamie Foxx, his character, is left to his own devices. Now, we decided not to go with this ending, but what we did do is we lifted this notion of the cell phone exploding, and we put that into the scene with the judge, and it's one of the most crowd-pleasing, greatest moments of the film. So a good idea can come from anywhere, even from something that you reject, ultimately as a master sequence. You can just take one idea out of it and repurpose it intelligently and end up with something cool.